Okay, so there's a pretty big change coming to Oklahoma's real estate world. A brand new law, Senate Bill 1075, just got passed, and when it goes live on November 1st, 2025, it's going to completely shake up the rules for a very specific type of property deal.
You know the ones I'm talking about, right? Stapled to telephone poles, stuck in the grass. They are everywhere. Well, those signs are the calling card for a business called real estate wholesaling. And in Oklahoma, the playbook for this whole industry is about to get a major rewrite.
So let's break it down. What exactly is wholesaling? See, a wholesaler isn't looking to buy your house to live in it or even to fix it up themselves. Their goal is simple. Get a property under contract and then turn around and sell that contract to another investor, usually a house flipper. The wholesaler's profit? It's the fee they make for finding the deal and connecting the dots.
To really get what's happening here, we're first going to look at the loopholes that made this new law so necessary. Then we'll dive right into Senate Bill 1075, breaking down the new rules for wholesalers and, more importantly, the new rights for homeowners. And finally, we'll zoom out and see how this Oklahoma law is actually part of a much bigger story happening all across the country.
So why the big change? Why was a whole new law needed? Well, it turns out the state already took a crack at regulating this industry, but some pretty big gaps left homeowners in a tough spot.
Yeah, back in 2021, lawmakers passed an act designed to bring wholesalers under the same umbrella as licensed real estate agents. The idea was good, create some oversight, some professional standards, but in reality, it didn't quite pan out that way.
The workarounds were, well, they were pretty clever. The 2021 law only applied if a wholesaler publicly marketed a deal. So what did they do? They just switched to marketing their deals to private lists of investors. Easy enough. They also used a move called a double closing, which makes the deal look like two separate sales happening back to back. By doing this, they technically weren't selling a contract anymore, which let them sidestep the rules entirely, leaving those consumer protections completely toothless. And that, right there, brings us to the new solution, Senate Bill 1075. This law was specifically written to weld those loopholes shut and put consumer protection right back in the driver's seat.
Now this law doesn't throw out the old one, it just builds on it with some really crucial details. For the first time ever, we have legal definitions for terms like wholesaler and double closing. No more gray areas. The new focus is all about being crystal clear and transparent with the homeowner.
And let me tell you, this law moved fast. It was introduced, sailed through the House and Senate, and was signed into law all in a matter of months. But the date you really need to remember is November 1st, 2025. That's when all these new rules officially kick in.
So what does this new playbook actually look like for wholesalers on the ground? What specifically are the new hoops they have to jump through?
Okay, the changes are huge. First, wholesalers now have to tell you in writing that their plan is to sell your contract for a profit. No more guessing. Second, the contract itself has to tell the homeowner, hey, you should probably get a lawyer to look at this. Third, it has to spell out that the homeowner has a 2-day right to cancel. And finally, any deposit or earnest money has to be held safely in a local FDIC-insured bank. That adds a whole new layer of financial security.
And this isn't buried in the fine print. We're talking about this exact language, in bold, right next to where the seller signs their name. It is designed to be absolutely unmissable. It makes the cancellation right and the need for a lawyer crystal clear, giving the power back to the homeowner at that critical moment.
The law also lays out what wholesalers absolutely cannot do. They can't pretend to be your advisor. They can't lie about having special licenses. And here's the kicker. They are now banned from filing documents that put a lien on your property just to pressure you into going through with a deal. That's a huge deal.
So, what happens if a wholesaler just decides to ignore all these new rules? Well, the consequences are severe. The contract becomes totally invalid. It's unenforceable. The wholesaler can't force the sale, and the homeowner gets to keep any deposit they were paid. This gives the law some real teeth.
All right, we've talked a lot about the wholesalers. Let's flip the script. With all these new regulations, what does this mean for homeowners? What are your new rights?
If you are a homeowner in Oklahoma, this is the number. This is the one you need to remember. 2. You now have a legally protected 2-business-day cooling-off period. That means after you sign a contract with a wholesaler, you have 2 full days to change your mind and cancel it for any reason whatsoever, with 0 penalty. This gives you time to breathe, talk it over with family, or go get that legal advice the contract now tells you to get.
And really, at its heart, that's what this entire law is about. It is a fundamental shift in the power dynamic. It's about giving homeowners more information, more time, and way more control when they get one of those cash-for-your-house offers.
So, what do you do if a wholesaler approaches you? First, just slow down. Remember, you have that 2-day window, so use it. Call a lawyer who knows real estate. And keep your eyes peeled for red flags, anyone pressuring you to sign right away, or anyone making those claims that are now totally illegal. And hey, you should know, the Oklahoma Real Estate Commission, OREC, even has a free cancellation form right on their website to make it easy.
Now, this law is obviously a huge deal for Oklahoma, but you really have to zoom out to see that it's also a piece of a much larger story that's unfolding across the entire country.
Yep, Oklahoma is just the latest state to join this growing national movement that's demanding more transparency and more consumer protection in the world of real estate, a trend that got a massive shakeup just recently.
You've probably heard about it, the massive NAR settlement in 2024. This was a landmark case that completely upended how real estate agent commissions work across the whole country. It forced a new era of fee transparency and changed the rules of the game for millions of agents and buyers.
So, think of Oklahoma's new law as another piece of that exact same puzzle. While the NAR settlement was all about commission transparency in traditional real estate, SB 1075 brings that same spirit of disclosure and fairness to the wholesaling world. It's all part of the same big, structural shift toward empowering the consumer.
So all of this leaves us with one big question. Now that the playbook demands total transparency, what does the future really hold for that we buy houses business model? Will the legitimate players adapt and thrive in this new consumer-friendly market? Or will these new guardrails fundamentally change who can and who should be playing this game at all?